this is Nick Spain. My name is Nikita Thompson, and over the summer we came up with a cool idea to get Westminster on the map. And you're wondering what I mean. I mean specifically socially speaking. So who here has Snapchat? Raise your hand. That's awesome. Okay, so you know how you always take your snaps and you upload them to my story and you get maybe 50 to 100 views. Well, today I want you to try your best to upload as many snaps to our story. Use the symposium filter that we made, and you will watch us, the little Westminster College in the middle of Fulton, Missouri, become more popular on Snapchat than California, than Chicago, than a combined states. We've done this, we figured out how to do it, but we really need your help for this time. So today is the day, upload all the snaps that you usually upload to my story onto our story. There are a couple of rules. They gotta be school appropriate. That's pretty self-explanatory. My second rule is you can't just do pictures, you have to record the video. So when who comes to campus and you're all excited, don't just take a picture. Record him, when he's on the stage, and show your support for this college and help us put it on the map. Like, we could honestly beat a lot of states, socially speaking. That's pretty cool.
So yeah, just remember the rules, and everybody just have a good time snapping today. Yep.
Thank you very much. Also, be on the lookout for more Snapambassador information. We're really trying to kick off a new campaign for this college and how to advertise to younger people and potentially new social environments. So keep an ear out for us. Thanks.
Thank you, Nikita and Nick. Outstanding, putting Westminster College on the map nationwide. My name's Kurt Jefferson. I'm the Assistant Dean for Global Initiatives here at Westminster and the Director of the Churchill Institute for Global Engagement. We are the ones who put on this great event. And I want to thank my assistant. I mean, a lot of people I can thank. I want to thank my assistant, Emily Perry. She has done a fantastic job. Everything you see around you, has been coordinated by her, and she's probably not in the house this morning, but because she's out doing other things, getting ready for the 58th Green Lecture. But I'm really grateful to her. I'm grateful to our Alumni Affairs leader and Executive Director, Sarah Munn. She's done an amazing job with the Green Lecture as well as this event. And I want to also give a shout out to Lana Poole and her team, Rob Kraus, Jenny Bondurant, Anna Comfort. I know I'm leaving all kinds of people out. And Gina Campagna in development, who is helping us with a lot of things today too. And I also want to thank my boss, David Jones, the acting senior vice president, and all of our bosses, the acting president, Dr. Carolyn Perry. Just a wonderful event for all of us. So let me just make a few announcements here. After the plenary session is over with Aisha Fukushima, we want you to go to the final breakout sessions. All of those are in Coulter Science Center except Aisha's, which is in Herman Lounge. Celeste Cummings is her host for that. And one thing I did want to say, you notice that Aisha has a number of cool t-shirts, merchandise, music, other kinds of things for sale. And we really want to support her and her message as she heads around the country. And you're going to be blown away by what you're about to witness and experience here with her. So what we're doing is we're moving that table of merchandise over to Herman Lounge. Stop in there, pick up a t-shirt, pick up some music, and then rush off to your breakout session afterwards. We'd really appreciate that. A couple green lecture items. 10:45, the doors open for the 58th Green Foundation Lecture right here in this auditorium. You must have a ticket to get into the lecture. We will not admit anybody who does not have a ticket. Also, absolutely no bags, backpacks, large purses, etc. will be allowed in the auditorium for the Green Lecture of Senator Sanders. Any of these will be checked and placed in a room right outside, locked up in the vestibule. by security, and then you can get your backpack, bag, purse, whatever it is, after the green lecture, but there will be no things allowed in here except for yourself. You want to bring a pencil and paper to take notes, that's totally fine. Take them on your phone, what have you, but nothing else will be allowed for security reasons. And also today, please welcome our many visitors to campus, demonstrate our values of fairness, integrity, responsibility, and respect today as we have a number of representatives from alumni, global media, folks working with our advancement office, Kelly Dotman, our vice president, and others, so we're excited about that. So, I'm done pontificating. Now let me introduce to you a great colleague of mine, Dr. Natasha Sexton, the Associate Professor of Music and the Director of our wonderful Churchill Singers at Westminster College, who I want to give a quick shout out. You'll get to hear them if you're coming to the Green Lecture today, and they will blow your mind. And also, she will introduce our plenary speaker. Thank you, Dr. Sexton.
Good morning and welcome to day 2 of Westminster's Hancock Symposium on Advocacy and Activism. In 1973, Bob Marley was deeply moved by the poverty he saw during a tour of Haiti, and he was inspired to write and sing, "Get up, stand up for your rights, get up, stand up, don't give up the fight." 6 years earlier, in 1967, Nina Simone, recognizing where the civil rights movement fell short, sang, "I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. I wish I could break all the chains holding me. And I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart, remove all the bars that keep us apart." Still, decades earlier, Woody Guthrie responded to the impact of the Great Depression upon all of those displaced by it while writing and singing, "This land is your land, this land is my land." The history of artists as activists is long and wide. Economic and social justice, liberation, revolution, peace, human rights, solidarity. Musicians and artists have been players and leaders from the beginning. Pete Seeger, the banjo-wielding rabble-rouser, once said, "Songs are funny things. They can slip across borders, proliferate in prisons, penetrate hard shells of hatred. I always believed that the right song at the right moment could change history." Why are musicians and their songs such powerful agents of change? With lyrics that speak to our heads and melodies that touch our hearts, music may move us to action. Aisha Fukushima is a descendant of this long line of musician activists. She is a singer and a RAPtivist. That's an activist who raps. She is an educator and is in demand as a public speaker. She has explained that she has come to this place and time by identifying that nexus where her purpose and her happiness intersect. Aisha calls this work her love work and describes it as the most ideal work that one may do for oneself and one's community. Through her work, she acknowledges the power of culture to creatively challenge oppression. Through her artistry and music, hip hop and rap are a catalyst for social change. Aisha founded RAPtivism as a global hip hop project that now spans 10 countries and 4 continents. Through it, she highlights ways that culture can contribute to universal efforts for freedom and justice by challenging apathy with awareness, ignorance with intelligence, and oppression with expression. Throughout the United States and in France, Morocco, Kazakhstan, Japan, Germany, South Africa, Senegal, India, and other countries. Her music has initiated conversations about global citizenship, intersectionality, and social activism. She has challenged her audiences by asking, not just what do we stand against, but what do we stand for? How do we express that through the arts? How do we start to manifest that through culture, through the stories that we tell? Her songs are also beautiful and powerful challenges for us. And I conclude this introduction with lyrics to her song, Poet Tree. In Poet Tree, she plays on the sound of the word poetry and recalls the imagery of one of America's most powerful protest songs, Strange Fruit, made famous when sung by Billie Holiday and Nina Simone. The lyrics to Poet Tree go, let me pick you a fruit from the poetry, seeds of change, roots generations deep, juices of justice, flesh of my ancestors' trust. Let me pick you a fruit from the poetry. Let you taste the bitter sweetness of my history. Let me pick you a fruit from the poetry. This land's made for freedom, for wisdom, and for you and me. Westminster College, please help me welcome Aisha Fukushima.
Good morning, Ohayo gozaimasu, buenos dias, sabah al-khair. How y'all doing? I said, how y'all doing? That's what I like to hear. First and foremost, I want to thank all of the organizers, especially Emily. I know that she's out there somewhere running around and helping to make this a reality. I also want to thank all of you for being present right here, right now in this moment and sharing this space and this journey that we're about to enter together. Speaking of journey, I want to invite you, yes, all of you, to come up closer. This is something that we're doing together. It's a collective journey. So I want you to come, if you feel inspired, especially those in the back, come scoot up, find a seat that's a little bit closer. I'll give you 10 seconds in 10, 9, 8, 7. Sit next to someone you haven't met before. Dare to do something a little different out of the comfort zone. 5, skipped a few numbers. 4, 3, 2, 1. If you can hear my voice, clap once. If you can hear my voice, clap twice. If you can hear my voice, clap once. If you can hear my voice, clap 2 times. If you can hear my voice, clap 3 times. So you can see already that this is going to be participatory. The second thing that I want to ask you to do is to turn to someone next to you, someone that you do not know, maybe to 2 people you do not know, and introduce yourselves. Say hello, ask how they're doing today. Let us enter this space together. And we're back in 3, 2, 1. If you can hear my voice, say, hey. If you hear my voice, say, hey, hey. That's what I like to hear. Are y'all awake? Good. So thank you, Dr. Sexton, for that incredible introduction. Also, I want to thank Jamie and many others, the tech people, all the folks who are making this possible. And I want to jump into a journey. Are y'all down to journey with me? I said, are you down to journey with me? When I say journey, y'all say journey, journey, journey. Beautiful. So as we are all global citizens, we're going to embark on a global journey today. And I wanted to start off by telling you a little bit about my story and where I come from in order for us to know where we're going. Is that okay with you? Cool. As a way to open that up, I just feel in my heart, I want to share a song with you to kick off. And it's called Just Breathe, and it requires some of your help. Are y'all down to help me with it? And are you down for some music? That's what's up. So the chorus goes, don't try to be, just be. Inhale, exhale, and y'all say, breathe. You got it? Don't try to be, just be. Inhale, exhale. Breathe. Don't try to be, just be. Inhale, exhale. Breathe. Beautiful. This song for me is about taking that breath, having that mindfulness that for me is part and parcel to activism, to be mindful of our environment, both the one including the people that are in and around our ecosystems in everyday life, as well as our environmental ecosystems, listening, being keen and tapped into the moment as a way of doing mindful activism that actually takes into account lots of different perspectives, lots of different experiences that people may have. And it's also a song about self-care because this work is hard. So it's important to know to love yourself in order for that to emanate out into the work that we do. Here we go. Don't try to be, just be. Inhale, exhale. Don't try to be, just be. Inhale, exhale. I believe in miracles. I believe in a greater world. I believe in good things, and it starts with me. Thank you for never giving up, mama. When times get tough, you always cared for and enlightened me. Music keeps me from dying inside. Never feel like I have much to hide. I sing my feelings, still know how to breathe. Sometimes they treat me separate from society. Some days it's hard to get up. Inspiration's what it takes and I got enough. Building faith in community. Looking past what my eyes can see. Free, I be, we be free. I be, we be. Don't try to be, just be. Inhale, exhale. Don't try to be, just be. Inhale, exhale. I praise high, bow down low. I keep it humble cause I'm always on the real, yo. Pass down knowledge, ancestors to the seed. I plant freedom, flowers rise up so beautifully. And they say we cannot succeed. Lies told that we shall not believe. I refuse their stupidity, slavery. I was born free and free, I will be. Your impression is insanity. My impression is humanity. Free, I be, we be free. Don't try to be, just be. Inhale, exhale. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you so much for joining me on that musical journey. And to move forward, I want to tell you a little bit about where I'm coming from. So, as you can see up here, I grew up with an African-American mother and a Japanese father. I grew up between Seattle, Washington, and Yokohama, Japan. And so, in many ways, at this early age, going back and forth across different countries, I could see how many boundaries and borders were constructed. And in fact, the lines that sometimes we see on a political map, for example, that are posted up in classrooms and our geography textbooks throughout high school, are ones that are drawn into the land by man. And sometimes when I look outside of the window of an airplane, in fact, I don't necessarily see the earth cut up in the same ways that are drawn on a map. Now, I bring up these boundaries and borders because oftentimes these are boundaries and borders not just in terms of dividing nations and nationalities, but also in everyday life, when we're walking down the street. It might include the boundaries and borders that we set up between one another, folks that we don't know, folks that we make assumptions about. When we're passing someone on the sidewalk, what quick snap judgments do we make to assume who they are, right? At a young age, I started to think, to question these things, and to also know that I could be many things at once, that I didn't necessarily have to conform and only pick one culture, that I could have many different facets of my identity, and that was beautiful and, in fact, didn't need to be validated by society. It's something that I give myself permission to do. No need to be apologetic for the abundance of who I am. And this comes into conflict, right, as someone who, with my mother being African American and speaking Mandarin Chinese, people felt like that didn't fit the stereotype in their head of who a black woman should be, whatever that was in their head, that those limitations that they were imposing from society onto our everyday life. And knowing that I didn't have to ask for permission to be the vibrant self, just like I hope my mother has learned and doesn't have to every day fight that battle of having to push and say, yes, this is who I am, or yes, I'm allowed to spread my wings however I see fit. Are y'all still with me? Awesome. So this is a quick picture from when I was growing up in Japan, spending half the school year. This is in Yokohama, my other hometown, at Tateno no Shogakko. Yeah, Nihongo shaberu desu ka? Any Japanese speakers? Okay, so there's some folks, this is kind of just like a little tapestry of where I'm coming from. This is a picture of me growing up, looking at the stage. My mom jokingly said that I would run back and forth because I was so excited about the music and how it activated the body and people to come together. This is at a festival called Festival Sundiata, the largest festival for Black diaspora arts in the Pacific Northwest. And for me, this picture always reminds me also of my upbringing behind the scenes of the music industry. In that first picture you saw, that was also during a time where I was going back and forth from Seattle to Japan because my parents had started a music booking agency, meaning that they were booking artists like James Brown, Funkadelic. Y'all have heard of some of these folks. Maybe some of you all remember Criss Cross, Michelle Ndegeocello, Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, a lot of these different folks, right? To come to Japan for the first time. I remember meeting Aaliyah when she was wearing the sports bras and the cool firefighter outfits back in the day. This was kind of the tapestry of me coming up and seeing the power of music as this international, as this global language where we could connect. Because in Japan, even if folks didn't know every single lyric or the translation, the perfect translation of every single lyric, we were all bopping our head to the same beat. We were all getting down, and people were even singing along. That music created this sort of ability to connect on a profound level in a very quick time. Have any of y'all experienced that? Perhaps, yeah, I see a number of hands. Later on, I moved to Bellevue, Washington, just outside of Seattle. And my mom, knowing that I had a very strong dream of attending college and wanting to get into the best academics possible and the best rigor possible, sent me to a school where it was both academically challenging, rigorous, great critical thinking skills were fostered in a lot of ways. And at the same time, I was one of very few students of color. And I was also one of very few working class students. And so to give you a little context, a lot of the students were white upper middle class, as I mentioned, but also they were getting $100 for every A that they earned on a test. Or some of them would get Mercedes-Benz, right, when they turned 16, which was different than the reality that I was living in. For me, this was a really turning point moment, a pivotal moment in my formation as an activist and as an artist, because throughout this time, there were so many different instances where injustice would pop up in the classroom and I wouldn't always see my teachers or my community knowing how to address it, how to confront it, how to make a change. I'm thinking about moments like taking a math test. Right, and I took a math test. I was determined to do really well on this test, had studied, took it, got it back, and had gotten an F. And I thought, okay, well, I must have done something wrong. I'll learn from those mistakes, and I'll figure out how to do better next time and for the final exams. So I asked my partner, if I could take a look at her paper and compare the grades and figure out what I had done wrong and maybe take some notes. And so she said, sure. And she shifted her paper over and she had the same exact answers, except she got an A, right? And she's a white student in that context. And when I rose my hand, I said, I'm sorry, I think that there might have been a misunderstanding, or I just wanted to ask about this math test. I can see that they're graded a little bit differently, even though we have the same answers. My teacher said, class, look at Aisha. She's a bad example. She's a bad student. She's questioning me and my authority, right? This is someone as an educator who has a love of learning, a love of the classroom, and also working beyond the classroom to make change. Some of the early instances, moments that kind of set a tone for me, building an awareness of the injustices that were happening on an everyday basis in my school, in my city, across the nation, and even around the world, right? Developing that consciousness. Now, many different instances like this happened. I can even recall a food fight in elementary school, right, where I was also one of the few, if not the only student of color in the lunchroom at that time. And one student decided, have you all had that mystery meat in school lunches, right? Sometimes you turn it, it's like turning green in the light. It's a little bit scary, right? And they took the mystery meat and they threw it across the lunchroom. Keep in mind, this is like 3rd grade, something like that. Once they threw it, the whole lunchroom participated in this huge food fight. Food was flying everywhere, and I remember sitting there thinking, do I participate? Do I not? Do I participate? Do I not? I don't know, maybe I should just sit here, and getting really nervous. And then I saw an apple on the table, and I dared to roll it down the table, and I felt so rebellious, right? And at that very moment, while the food is flying in the lunchroom, the principal walks in and says, you, come with me. He's pointing to me. He proceeded to blame the entire food fight with hundreds of young people in that cafeteria on me. He also called me a dog, said I had to eat on the street, that I wasn't deserving of an education. And I can't help but see the difference in the way that he treated me compared to all the other students in my school. Keep in mind, this is even elementary school, these early formations. And unfortunately, part of why I tell these stories is that I've heard so many stories like this across the nation, zigzagging throughout all the different schools, all the different students that I've met, that this is not completely uncommon. In fact, it is frequently happening, not just in high schools or middle schools, but all across the country, in universities and different spaces. So I think it's important to call out moments like this that happen, even if the intention behind it isn't always malvoyant. Sometimes that prejudice can still have harm that we as a community can heal and have a role in healing, that it's crucial for us to do as engaged global and local citizens. Are y'all still with me? Yes, okay. So that brings me to some of the arts. At that time, throughout high school, middle school, even college, I was doing musicals and choirs and all different sorts of activities. And I started to find, much like in my childhood, those early years in Japan, to see the power of music to move people, the power of poetry and words, of storytelling to move people and to move their hearts that are connected to our minds, not divided, right? And for me, part of the seed was planted by a teacher who started something called RAPtivism in high school, reading from the silence. Once a week, if we were lucky, if not a couple times a month, we would turn down the lights in the classroom, light candles, and then we would have an opportunity to share stories with one another. We'd have an opportunity to share anything that we had written and just take that time as a space to share our creative, imaginative writings. And for me, it took a long time, but I eventually wrote some poetry about those experiences that I was going through at that very moment. And also the experiences of peers that I saw were going through their own trials and tribulations. I remember the first time I read one of those poems aloud and I was shaking and trembling, right? And when I looked up from the paper, all of a sudden people stood up and there was a simultaneous standing ovation, that they could feel me, that they could hear me in a different way than they were able to hear me before when I would confront it, when I would speak up to my teacher or even speak up to my peers who would use racist jokes as a way of gaining their cool points in school and in the hallway and in the locker room and so on and so forth. All of a sudden, my voice had a platform to be heard and not just turn into vitriolic debate, but maybe a discussion, maybe a deeper understanding, and even most importantly, a deeper connection, right, between people. This brings me actually to a piece that I feel really moved to share this morning, and it's called Missing You. And primarily, this is a piece about loss, or having loved ones that are far away. Perhaps they've transitioned and we might not be able to see them anymore. But in many ways, I think it's also a song about connection, which we're talking about right now. And fostering that connectivity, fostering that connection, both to ancestors and future ancestors, as well as one another right here in this space. Would y'all be down to hear Missing You? Okay, here we go. Let's just take a collective breath. I've been missing you, missing you. Did you know that I still care? I've been trying to, learning to follow through, even when you're not there. Want you to know that it hurts sometimes. Want you to know that I'm still alright. I've been missing you, missing you. Yes, it's true, incredible, so indelible. Wanna hold you close, will not let go. Centrifugal, centrifugal. Let us rise and never fall. No more burden, burden, burden. Let them talk and we will fly from this. From all this hurting, hurting, hurting. La da 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 da, 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 la da da da, la da da da. This is just to say that I'm missing you today, today. This is just to say that I'm missing you today. Thank you. Thank you so much. And so, as we're talking about all these different kinds of experiences, I think a recurring theme, at least for me, is oftentimes this box. And especially as a multiracial person, I often get this question: what are you? Not like, how are you? How's it going? What's good? What are you? Right? And when I answer, I'm a human being, people say, oh, you know what I mean, right? That they want to find these boxes. Sometimes if I tell people, instead of resisting and transgressing that space of that question, if I tell people I'm Black and Japanese or African American and Japanese, the first response is often, no, you're not. Or, oh, I like sushi. Oh, girl, right? All these different kinds of stereotypes that people want to throw at me, and it makes me wonder, what does this question really tell you about who I am as a person? My story. Not just the stereotype stories that we hear played over and over in the media and our households among family members and friends, but what does that tell you about who I am beyond this box, right? Oftentimes there's also this choosing of a side. Which one are you more of? What do you relate to most? As if I'm a fraction that can be divided up, right? And I bring up this question because I think a lot of us can relate, right, to these boxes in everyday life, including our privileged identities, that whiteness also has a box, and what connotations, even though they may come with privileges, come with that, right? Just like other races, quote unquote, which is also constructed, right? We know that race is constructed. Gender boxes that maybe tell you that there's only man and woman, that there's a binary way of thinking and you have to fit into a gender box or a sexuality box or a religion box, so on and so forth, of the expectations, of the limitations, of the stereotypes that people might impose. But what do these boxes truly tell us about who we are meeting, who we're talking to, who we're talking about, who we think we're talking about? Do y'all feel me on this? Y'all know what I'm talking about? I see a lot of nodding heads. Okay. So, does anyone watch Key and Peele? Quick change. Okay, so y'all know Key and Peele. I think this skit, for me, this Key and Peele skit really speaks to some of those boxes.
Kids.
Okay, so we see a lot of that playing out very quickly in that one skit, right? Another way of talking about these boxes. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, any of y'all familiar with Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie? Awesome, incredible author, right? Calls this the danger of a single story, a story that gets told over and over again and eventually perhaps gets accepted as a truth, as the truth about a group of people, for instance, right? Which is not always the case, that we can't lump sum a whole group of people into one single stereotype of an identity, right? So Kimberly Crenshaw also broadens and deepens this conversation. I want to hear a little bit about what she has to say. Kimberly Crenshaw, for those of you who might not be familiar with her work, she talks a lot about intersectionality. She's really brought that term forward in a way, talking about the ways in which systems of power and oppression are intersecting, that they are connected. So the system of gender oppression, for example, cannot be divided from the system of economic and financial different kinds of oppressions, and it can't be divided from the systems of racial oppressions and the conversations that we have around that. keep in mind when I'm talking about oppression, it also includes privilege, that these systems work with one another. Those are not separate things. And in that sense, we all have a stake in creating justice because we all are part of these interconnected systems. Let's hear what Kimberly Crenshaw has to say.
Now, communications experts tell us that when facts do not fit with the available frames, people have a difficult time incorporating new facts into their way of thinking about a problem. These women's names have slipped through our consciousness because there are no frames for us to see them, no frames for us to remember them, no frames for us to hold them. As a consequence, reporters don't lead with them, policymakers don't think about them, and politicians aren't encouraged or demanded that they speak to them. Now, you might ask, well, why does a frame matter? I mean, after all, an issue that affects Black people and an issue that affects women, wouldn't that necessarily include Black people who are women and women who are Black people? Well, the simple answer is that this is a trickle-down approach to social justice, and many times it just doesn't work. Without frames that allow us to see how social problems impact all the members of a targeted group, many will fall through the cracks of our movements, left to suffer in virtual isolation. But it doesn't have to be this way. Many years ago, I began to use the term intersectionality to deal with the fact that many of our social justice problems like racism and sexism are often overlapping, creating multiple levels of social injustice.
In the land of the free and the home of the... How can this be the land of the free and the home of the brave when so many people live in fear? I captivate, reincarnate with an imagination state of mind. Teacher, I am more than those underestimations combined. Do you mind? I am growing here, cocoon in a cacophony of sounds and silences like ancestors' footsteps that pace with my heart. I am more than your labels make me out to be. I am more than your labels make me out to be. I am human first and foremost. I said I am human first and foremost, except for when I am a butterfly whose metamorphosis reopens the orifices of our connectivity. We are more connected than we pretend to be. Let these wings make me free as I fly on the winds of change. A new season has come, rearranged. The old one is done, interchanged, and living as a butterfly has taught me one thing, that there is no beginning or ending, only shape-shifting. So let us call this a transformation. Let us call this a reformation. My wing pattern is a blueprint for elevation, and there ain't no stopping this reclamation constructed in a language of sounds and silences that must be read between the lines until we realize that this whole reality is constructed. The education that values one human life over another is corrupted. Migration is a way of life. I said migration is a way of life, and I float by pushing myself up on matter that I cannot see, like dreams shape-shift in a medium of creativity. Sometimes it's hard to be a butterfly when you were built to soar, and some try to colonize the sky. How can you divide the air? Must be hard to breathe if we don't want to share. This is the life of a butterfly. Karma and samsara, birth and rebirth. I am woman and I know my worth. Monarch but not imperial. I spit philosophies, it ain't ethereal. I keep rising and shining, wondering, can you hear me though? I keep rising and shining, wondering, can you hear me though? So as we float, as we fly, as we flutter, the warmth of prayers that melt like butter flies over aching wounds, erected in remembrance, stand high like pyramid tombs. This is for you. For I believe in all of you. Hold your head high as you speak your truths. Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun up in the sky. Ooh, feel it's a new dawn. It's a new life. Good. Give yourselves a round of applause. So to my tech family, for some reason my slideshow has frozen, and I'm calling out to you. That said, we're still journeying, right? We'll keep going. So this brings me to hip hop. When I say hip, y'all say hop. Hip, hip. When I say can't stop, y'all say won't stop. Can't stop, can't stop. Right? Oftentimes, just like we're talking about these different kinds of stories, there are a lot of stories that are told about hip hop. And sometimes it get boiled down to maybe some top 40 songs and the depictions that are in those songs. And I think in many ways, it reminds me of the boxes that we're talking about in everyday life as well. Hip hop. A lot of times when people think of that term, some of the first things that might come to mind or have come up in venues like this are booty, bling, bullets, maybe bourbon, and some other things that start with B's and four-letter words and so on and so forth, right? These stereotypes of what hip-hop, quote-unquote, is. I want to take a step back. What are the four elements? What are four elements of hip-hop? Anyone know? Popcorn the mouth. Graffiti. Breakdancing. Beatboxing. Some people say that's another element, yeah? DJing. Sampling is a part of hip-hop as well. Any more ideas? So we had graffiti, we had DJing, and the raps that I write are even tougher than taking ramen to a new plateau through rap slow. My ramen is a vitamin help without a capsule. What am I doing? MCing, right? MCing, that's the other element of hip-hop. And people often talk about these four elements to take a step back from the stereotypes of hip-hop, all the B's and other things, right? To knowing that for a lot of folks who are entrenched in the culture, which is actually a lifestyle, these four elements are important. Not only that, some of the other ones you mentioned, sampling, creating beats in different ways, yes, those are also elements of hip-hop. There's also a fifth element of hip-hop. Anyone know what that is? Knowledge. Knowledge. That's the basis of this culture. That's such a crucial part of the hip-hop game, so to speak. And so I bring that up because a lot of people don't realize that with what's marketed, primarily because of the 1990s Communications Act that passed, right, that monopolized essentially a lot of radio channels and made it more of a commercial endeavor. That's the top 40 songs that you hear are not just chosen by the people, right? These are chosen by corporations that want to market product to you, market stereotypes to you, among other things, right? That there's a deeper heritage to what hip-hop means. So reaching beyond those stereotypes, I have to give credence to people like folks that I met in Cape Town, Heal the Hood, who do hip-hop therapy and something along the lines of hip-hop psychology through breakdancing and MCing with young people in the Cape Flats. I think about people even in the States, maybe any Kendrick Lamar fans. I know I'm a Kendrick fan. Yes, that's what's up. Chance, No Name. There's so many amazing MCs out there, even here in the States. Given that I'm a global RAPtivist, I want to call out more of my international global hip-hop family. People like Sultana, who's right there in the middle in the blue striped Adidas, right? And essentially, she's a hip-hop feminist based out of Morocco who created a hit song called Swat El Nissa, Voices of Women, and really speaks up and speaks out. People like Babak Vakili, who brings his hip-hop everywhere from the classroom to beyond, Iranian, Danish MC in that corner. We've got folks like Didier Awadi, who created an album called Président de l'Afrique, Presidents of Africa. He traveled the African continent for over 10 years, collecting archival material, talking to leaders, because he saw that in the textbooks that they received, it was only telling colonizer and European-centric history and not telling the history of also African leaders, right? And so he wanted to bring that to the people, and he did that through an album. He wanted the album to be just as educational as a textbook, but you'd be able to do this when you're getting your knowledge with it. Y'all feel me on that? Right? And he's a crucial person in Senegal, just like actually Kurgi crew right there, the two brothers in the middle, right? They actually helped change the course of elections in Senegal, presidential elections, right? Through hip hop movements. You should check it out. If I know we're limited on time, I would love to tell you more about working with them and some of their story. But there's an incredible wealth and resource of RAPtivists all around the world. This is just a small sampling of some of the people I've had the honor of meeting or working with or getting the chance to rock out to, like Kendrick Lamar. This is a quick picture from Senegal. 72 heures de hip-hop, 72 hours of hip-hop. It's a 3-day non-stop hip-hop festival that takes place in central Dakar. Part of why Dakar is known for hip-hop is that over half of the population consists of young people. And we know that looking back throughout history, young people are at the forefront of most major movements, right? And in many ways, this critical mass that is drawn out to listen to their RAPtivists of the day, right, are also the people who mobilize to change the course of the elections in their country more than once. Does anyone know where this is? Yes, you can just throw out guesses. You're not getting a grade on this, so don't worry. Detroit? St. Louis? It could be anywhere in the world. Can you say it again? Bronx? I heard something. What was? Harlem. South Africa. So this is indeed the Bronx during the 1970s. Why would I show this picture or this picture? This is often credited as the birthplace of hip hop, right? And I think a lot of people don't realize, given the bling and the kind of ostentatious nature of the way hip hop is portrayed today, that its roots come from a place where there was a lot of destruction. And it was a creative force in the face of that destruction. A lot of people wonder why these buildings were burnt out. One of the reasons, right, there was Robert Moses, the city commissioner, who's creating a whole campaign that essentially led to a lot of urban decay in that area. Also, a lot of landlords learned that they could collect more money on having arsonists put their buildings on fire and collecting that insurance money than collecting the rent. So people were being displaced in that way by way of fire, literally. And then young people, given that there weren't traditional playgrounds, had to find ways to play amidst all of this, right? This is a quick snapshot of Nepal, where I was just recently in this last year, right? And I've been to so many different places around the world. A lot of the answers that I heard were indicative that those pictures of the Bronx could be actually a lot of places right now. And this is a picture directly after the earthquake that happened in Nepal. And this is a picture that I took at a school that we were visiting and doing workshops with, working with the students. And so much of that destruction can also become a creative force, almost like that phoenix rising in that moment of challenge. As a way of confronting that, we got together with some of Nepal's biggest stars, amazing artists, to put on a huge festival with the refrain, Nepal Feri Udne Cha, bringing hope and inspiration in solidarity with the local artists for the folks who had to literally be everyday activists in the face of a lot of the challenge that came from schools falling down to not having access to food in times of need or shelter, and really having to work together to lend a hand to people that they might not even know, right, to make a difference in that very moment. That activism is an everyday choice. It's not something far out in the ether. It's based on our everyday compassion and how we treat one another, especially in trying times. This can come to boil. What we're made of can truly come to boil. This is pictures of some of the young people who took the microphone and got down with us, vibing out, which was beautiful. And the Nepal Hip Hop Foundation, which brings me to wherever I've landed in the world, there's been a hip hop community that I can plug in and feel at home. And in that way, for me, it's a testimony to the global power of hip hop to make a change, to make a difference. And so indeed, I think about folks like the folks I met in Kazakhstan, right? Which brings me back to a larger point. This is one story of hip hop, right? The story of it being born in the Bronx. There's Kool Herc, among others, right, who are the so-called forefathers of hip hop. But also, there are people around the world who've told me hip hop has indigenous roots and traditional roots way beyond the history that we tell here in the States, a lot of us tell, I should say. Folks in Kazakhstan, they're asking me, what is this whole freestyle thing? What is that about? Like, can you explain that to me? And I said, well, you know, it's people getting free, they're improvising, they're finding their flow, it can be emceeing, it can be dancing, and they're like, oh, well, with the emceeing thing, that sounds like itis. And you can see the dombra, the two-string instrument that he's holding, and he taps the side, which makes a percussive sound, right? And they said that we just freestyle over this and storytell and talk about politics and love and what's going on in our community. That's a form of freestyling. We've been doing that for generations and generations. Like, we can totally relate to that. I think that's a part of hip-hop, this young person said to me. Then there's folks like Dada G family out of Dakar, Senegal. They called their album Boomerang because they felt that hip-hop started with the griot storytelling tradition in West Africa, traveled all the way around the world, and then came back. So for them, the roots of hip-hop are much more deep into that griot storytelling tradition. Then I've had people liken breakdancing to capoeira, right? Whereas we have the top rock capoeira, it's just a reversal of some of the movements, but we all stand in a circle and we're vibing to a similar beat. Right, super powerful. I want to be mindful of time. Great. So with that said, I might speed forward a little bit and to talk about RAPtivism. So RAPtivism has brought me all around the world to over 20 different countries and also broadened my understanding of how we often set up these binaries between, for example, the United States and the rest of the world. Sometimes the news for today is, fill in the blank, and internationally, right, as if international countries are separate from the US and not necessarily part and parcel, like we're part of that international, we're part of the world, right? We're interconnected, we're not the center of it, at least in my humble opinion, that it requires some of that decentering to relate and to hear people and to see people across many different nationalities and backgrounds. And RAPtivism for me is really rooted in that. It's about challenging apathy with awareness, ignorance with intelligence, and oppression with expression, right? For me, RAPtivists don't just write verses, we write universes that embody the world that we want to create. Y'all feel me on that? And this can be true of, I know there's a strong sciences, lots of people in the sciences here at Westminster. I mean, this can be true of etching out what is that solution that you want to create, whether that's for the environment or helping improve the healthcare system, which hopefully Bernie will talk on this afternoon, among other things, right? How can we improve these things? Justice is part and parcel to that kind of engineering mindset, I might put it. So what are some of the lessons from RAPtivism? One, a cipher, right? Boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop. Can I have this side of the room go boom, bop, boom, bop? Keep it going. Boom, bop. Keep it going. Ooh, ooh. Turn up the volume. Boom, bop, ooh, bop. And these lies, they be killing us. Forced to flounder on a small supply. Lead water, they've been dealing us. Reckless choices dying to survive. And the government be billing us like everything is fine. Reckless truths that they conceal from us. Give yourselves a round of applause. Okay. So why do we do that? One thing, what came up for you in that exercise? Was there anything that stood out to you out of curiosity? One thing is we're listening to one another, right? We have to listen to one another in order to lead. It's a collective leadership exercise, much like these hip-hop ciphers, that we can't just lead as a party of one, that we need one another, and it requires that listening and that understanding, which is very much at the center of hip-hop. When we stand in a circle and someone steps in the middle and MCs, it's so much more interesting when you're listening to each other's stories and you're volleying back and forth. Another element are the break beats, right? The break beats is something that Kool Herc helped bring to the surface, right? As looping your favorite part of the song, the most danceable part of the song that makes you feel the most free, even invites improvisation, right? I encourage you, how do you find that break beat, that place that you feel the most free, where you can fly? And how do you create that space for one another, where we can feel the most free, where we can fly, where we can express the flyness of who we are? Finally, imagination. That important stuff that allows us to envision the world differently than it is right before our eyes. How do we dare to create that world that we want to live in? This last year, I created a world within this dome. It's in Copenhagen, Denmark, and I invited the largest MCs in the country, dancers, among others, to come and raise funds for the refugee crisis that is ongoing all around the world. Right, and we brought in a local nonprofit who helped lead in that. We had folks like Hervé, who is in many ways like one of the go-to MCs in Denmark. The breakdancers wanted to curate the space and explain, show what freedom looks like through a mixture of West African dance and breakdance. We had experimental artists, and we even had graffiti artists curate the space with love. Curate the space with these images of multiracial young people that don't often get depicted in the Danish media as even existing in the country, right? That said, I want to close out with a song. Is that cool with y'all? Yes. Are y'all still with me? That's what I like to hear. And a couple words by Nina Simone.
Well, what's free to you?
What's free to me?
Yeah.
Same thing it is to you. You tell me.
No, you tell me. No. Because after talking for such a long...
It's just a feeling. It's just a feeling. It's like, how do you tell somebody how it feels to be in love? How are you going to tell anybody who has not been in love how it feels to be in love? You cannot do it to save your life. You can describe things, but you can't tell them. But you know it when it happens. That's what I mean by free. I've had a couple of times on stage when I really felt free. And that's something else. That's really something else. Like like, I'll tell you what freedom is to me. No fear. I mean, really, no fear. If I could have that half of my life, no fear. Lots of children have no fear. That's the closest way, that's the only way I can describe it. That's not all of it, but it is something to really, really feel.
Have you like,
No.
I've noticed
Like a new way of seeing. Like a new way of seeing something.
So I want to invite you. What does freedom look like, feel like, mean to you? That can be something even boiling down to bathroom signs and how they're labeled, or relationships with friends. What does freedom mean to you, and what makes you feel free? Think of one word. On the count of three, I'm going to ask that everyone in the room says their word aloud. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Keep that word in mind. love the way we rock. Who had a word? Is anyone who's willing to come up on stage and share that word on the microphone? I would just love to hear it. Come on up, please. Can we give them a round of applause? We need some more people. Who else is gonna come up? Love. Love. Who else can come up? I need a few more volunteers. Love. We can't make this movement happen without you. Love. Love. Beautiful. Can we give you a round of applause? Love. Happiness. Love. Happiness. Love. Come on up. I see you. Happiness. Love. Happiness. Joy. Happiness. I love the joy. Beautiful. And I love the way we rock. Every day we making it on and off the clock. And I love the way we rock. Every day we making it on and off the clock, the clock. And I love the way we rock. Every day we making it on and off the clock. Happiness. And I love the way we rock. Every day we making it on and off the clock, the clock. 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 And sometimes we feel like slaves, working so hard and we don't get paid like we're supposed to. People say I owe you, but they ain't so loyal. Can't you tell I'm a queen? I'm so royally pissed when you just in this. I thought we hissy fit. How you feeling this? Cause I'm killing this. Resurrected so you know who you're dealing with. We be the people and we be resilient. Hey, punching another day. Wake up now cause it's time to celebrate. We be the people through the track elevated. Don't know who we be cause too often underrated. If you got excuses, please just save it. If you got games, please know that I played it. Making the music so society can face it. I spit for freedom so you can taste it. And I love the way we rock. And I love the way you rock. And I love the way you rock. And I love the way you rock. And I love the way we rock. Every day we making it on and off the clock. On and off the clock. On dit qu'en enfant, quand se donne l'amour, soit heureux. Mais qu'on est tire quand la flamme s'éteint, se pose la distance. Né le rupture s'ensuit la naissance. De famille par alliance. À ce jeune qui crache sur son patronyme. Trop jeune pote à la dérive. Quand les misères de leur famille les enivent. Et qu'elle tout le plus vite de voir indécieux arrive. Et si un jour arrive le drame dont le cœur l'éterne en flamme reste la boussole morale que les mots harmonie. Paix, amour et bravoure. Des mots dans ma démour. Même au fond de la malle et sur famille musicale, j'ai pris même chemin. Je remets c'est les miens. Voilà tout ce que j'aime que leur santé et la musique. Reine. Et la musique reine. Stand up. Groove with it. That's right. On your feet. Happiness. And I love the way we rock. And I love the way we rock. Happiness. And I love the way you rock. Every day you're making it on and off the clock. Happiness. And I love the way we rock. And I love the way you rock. Happiness. And I love the way we rock. When I say peace, y'all say peace. Peace. When I say justice, y'all say justice. Justice. When I say freedom, you say freedom, you say freedom. And I love the way you rock. And I love the way we rock. And I love the way you rock. Every day you're making it on and off the clock. And I love the way you rock. And I love the way you rock. And I love the way you rock. Every day you're making it on and off the clock. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. And I love the way you rock. And I love the way we rock. And I love the way we rock. Every day we making it on and off the clock. And I love the way you rock. And I love the way we rock. And I love the way we rock. Every day we making it on and off the clock. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you so much. So I hope that you join me online to continue the discussion and or in this breakout session. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today on this journey. And I just want to implore you to find your breakbeat, where you feel the most free, to foster that for others, to write your own universes and to create that in your everyday activism, and to lead not only fearlessly and courageously, but consciously listening to create that beautiful cipher that we created just now. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you. My name is Aisha Fukushima. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Vous êtes formidable, Aisha. Unbelievable. Thank you so much, Aisha. That was about as authentic and dynamic as a presentation that I've ever seen in this 12 years of doing this. Everybody head out. We got to get over to the Coulter Science Center for all the breakouts. And if you want to meet Aisha, I know a lot of you do, head to Herman Lounge. Celeste Cummings will meet you there. She has all kinds of great things, music, t-shirts. Support her movement. She's got some amazing things out there, and thank you for coming. We'll see you back lining up at 10:45, doors open for the green lecture.